Hello. Oh gosh. I often think when it comes to these videos, either you get it or you don't. Uh, and honestly, most people don't get it. But if you get it, you get it. And the comedy at the beginning, the lack of seriousness, is understood and is also understood as a contrast to the depth that we explore when talking about what we talk about on this channel: spirituality, psychology, self improvement, manifesting. It's a tough combo for a lot of people to have some comedy or some lack of seriousness, and then for there to be a lot of seriousness. That contrast is intentional on my part in terms of the presentation here. Because at this point, after consistently making YouTube videos for like 2 years, I really am only interested in speaking to people who are willing to look at things with depth and openness. And so we combine the comedy with the depth. So before we get rolling today, and we already are rolling, I just want to remind you that first of all, there's a free summit that Katie Rice is hosting that I will be partaking in. She interviewed me for it, and I will be one of the speakers regarding money blocks, money mindset, money blocks. It's called, I think, the Blissful Money Summit, which is not the title I would have chosen. But I think it's going to be a really good summit, and I had a very good conversation with Katie. And as I mentioned in a recent video, Barbara Wilder, I know, is going to be one of the people speaking at the summit as well. It's an online summit. It's free if you sign up before it begins. So to sign up, if you have not already, I'll put the link in the description. You can sign up for the Blissful Money Summit. And yeah, the second reminder is I'm currently offering a special spring 6-week one-on-one coaching program with me, where we use some humor and we use a lot of depth, and we combine the two to change your life, to integrate these spiritual and manifesting ideas into your life directly by personalizing them as your own. So it stops being theory and esoteric techniques, and you're worrying that you're doing something wrong and all this stuff, and you realize, no, it's just me. And then you realize what works for you, what tools bring out the best in you, what makes you feel comfortable. And you start feeling better about implementing these manifesting ideas, these self-improvement ideas, and just better about yourself. And they start to work for you. That's the 6-week program. So if you want to work with me one-on-one doing that, you can contact me at info@radicalcounselor.com, and we can chat to see if it's a good fit for you. So today I thought I could read from The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith. The Infinite Way was Joel's first book, I believe. It's his most famous book. It covers, it's a very good overview of his philosophy. And one thing that I really love about Goldsmith is his focus on bringing it back to, he says, God. You could also say the absolute, the universe, source, whatever you want. Bringing it back to that point of origin, the deepest point. This is where, again, the depth comes in. God. I like using that term too, God. And by meditating, reflecting on God, we receive clarity and we receive healing. And healing not in the future, but healing now. We recognize that all of our suffering is, in a way, all just mental. It's not seeing the truth, and the truth shall set you free, according to Goldsmith's approach, and according to, most spiritual teaching. It's the truth that we mistake as not being true, when we see that it actually is true, that all the suffering and terror and fear we experience in our daily life, that none of it is true in the way we think. When we, quote unquote, stop thinking for a moment, as I like to say, as I describe in The Joy of Not Thinking. When we stop thinking, when we have that moment of clarity, we realize God has always been here, and that we always have been free, and there's nothing wrong with us. And Goldsmith says, by recognizing this more and actualizing it in our life more, not theoretically in some weird esoteric way, but living it by recognizing it more, not only will we feel the freedom of the recognition, but externally our life will straighten out. And we will demonstrate, or you could say manifest, a better outward reality in terms of, healing bodily issues, financial issues, relationship issues. So it's a very straightforward yet deep approach to these manifesting in new thought concepts that we always talk about. It's a very direct approach. And Goldsmith really explains it with a lot of clarity. I'm going to put a link above to a podcast episode I did a couple years ago, talking about this, how the technique or approach that runs through most of these law of attraction, new thought type of teachings, especially if they use any type of spiritual language, is basically, the golden key of Emmett Fox, right? Emmett Fox summated it well when he said, stop thinking about your problem, whatever it is, and think about God instead. Meditate upon God. Joseph Murphy used that wonderful term, the absolute method. H.M. Lee Cady always talked about trustful passivity. It's something that Richard Dotz, the modern, manifesting teacher, explains so well. We don't solve the problem as much as transcend it if we're utilizing this type of approach. It's always been the approach that's resonated most deeply for me when it comes to these law of attraction teachings. So this is a quote from The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith, explaining this extremely well, in talking about how our consciousness, our thinking, our imagination inadvertently creates problems that are not actually there. Okay? So this is what Goldsmith says. God is the consciousness of the individual. Therefore, all that can come to us as person, thing, or condition is coming to us as consciousness, in consciousness, and through consciousness. And God, consciousness, is the soul of every individual. God, principle, is the law of all action. God, spirit, is the substance of all of which we are conscious. Through false education, which constitutes finite sense, we have come to fear certain individuals, things, and conditions, not realizing that as these are coming to us through the avenue of consciousness, they are all God being, consciousness appearing, spirit substance. Material consciousness is the false finite sense which beholds the universe and man as limited, as being both good and evil. Spiritual consciousness is the awareness of the individual as God being, as having only the mind of God and the body of spirit. It recognizes the entire universe as mind appearing and governed by divine principle. Spiritual consciousness is the ability to see beyond the appearance to reality. It is the recognition and realization that as God is our mind, all that appears to us is in and of God, which is our only consciousness. Spiritual consciousness does not overcome or destroy matter or material conditions, but knows that no such conditions exist which finite sense presents. It translates the appearance for us, revealing the true nature of that which is appearing. That's an extremely good explanation of the absolute method, or the golden key. Everything's coming from consciousness, which is God. So there's nothing bad, except our perception of it makes it seem bad. But the bad things happening in our life are God. It's your consciousness. And we don't have to try to change it. It's like, oh, my hand's hurt. I have to change my hand to heal it. You just recognize that that hurt hand is God. The bad things, the quote-unquote bad things in your life are God. It's all God coming from your consciousness, which is God. So if you go back to the source of that, the problem ceases being a problem when it's recognized for the purity and truth that it is. That's the approach. That's depth. It's a phenomenal description by Goldsmith. The Infinite Way is a wonderful book if you want to get familiar with Goldsmith's philosophy. So, if you are interested in joining us for that Blissful Money Summit, the link will be below for your free ticket to it. And as I said, if I have availability, I'm offering the 6-week coaching one-on-one program with me. And there's currently availability. I can be reached at info@radicalcounselor.com. Until next time.